Welcome to the latest Aviation 2020 interview. I'm Ben Colclough. With me is George Dimitroff, Senior Analyst at Ascend. George, you've just got back from the Dublin Airfinance Conference. What was the mood?
The mood overall was quite positive this year, especially in comparison to what we've heard about it last year. But there was recognition generally that 2010 is still going to be a tough year. I think the optimism came from the fact that all the people who had made it to this conference after surviving a very difficult 2009 felt confident that even if 2010 is quite difficult, they will have the ability to get through it somehow.
And what hot topics were discussed at the conference?
There were several very hot topics which were recurrent. One was the funding gap,
Yep.
About how there wasn't a funding gap last year basically, or how the funding gap was covered through a combination of financing things like export credit. There was a lot of debate about export credit, whether it's too easy and it's allowing too many airlines who couldn't afford an aircraft to actually get an aircraft. There was some debate about the home country rule as well, with Embraer and Bombardier building larger regional jets. Obviously Boeing and aircraft are not comfortable with having those financed under export credit rules as a big jet. And then the other debate was the narrow-body aircraft re-engining. Should we re-engine the A320 737 or should they just go ahead and build a new aircraft straight away?
So lots covered then. And what were the airlines up to in particular?
The airlines seem to, from the general report, was they're managing capacity quite well. They're trying to keep up the load factors high and trying to get their yields up. The consensus seems to be that the yields have bottomed out, but they're going to try and raise them some more. And they're also shopping around for finance, whatever ways are available, not just at this year's deliveries, they're looking at next year's deliveries as well. So they're talking to banks, they're looking at sale and leasebacks with lessors, and they're also looking at, especially in the US, they're looking at the capital markets and EETCs again.
And was there any interesting news from the lessors?
From the lessors, one of the interesting things was the new entrants. There were 4 new lessors which showed up this year at Dublin. We had Greenstone, we had Armada, and then we also had KV Aviation and Hong Kong Aviation, all with around 100 million capital, all funded by private equity, but some of them are also going to look into the debt markets to increase their capital and to enable them to buy aircraft at this very opportunistic time.
Okay, and finally, manufacturers, anything exciting going on there?
From the manufacturers, the biggest highlight was that Boeing and Airbus were gloating at how they managed to deliver everything that they said they will deliver, how there was no funding gap and there were no whitetails. They're also reassuring the finance community that deliveries are being managed, that especially Airbus has what they call a watchtower committee where they look at all the deliveries going forward and highlight if there's any issues. They'll basically shuffle around their deliveries, defer some, bring others forward, so they intend to do more of that this coming year. And on the re-engining debate, the manufacturers weren't really giving any answers. They were just wait and see attitude to basically see what the market's needs are. So it's interesting to see what's going to push them over the edge.
Great, well it seems like a good show. Thank you for your thoughts and thank you for joining us.